Okay, this equation here is the amount of grass clippings remaining in the bin. And then part A says find the average rate of change. Remember, average rate of change is just your slope formula. So that's just A of 30 minus A of 0 over 30 minus 0. And then that is your A equation. So you got to take those numbers, plug those into that equation right there, and then just do some arithmetic. This is a calculator problem right there. And then the A was measured in pounds, and this is days on the bottom, so that'll be pounds per day. And then part B says find the value of A prime of 15. So you're going to do A prime of 15. That means you're going to take the derivative. But remember, if you're supposed to take the derivative at a particular number and you're on the calculator part of the test, math 8 that function. Don't take the derivative. It'll take the derivative for you and plug it in. And so if you forgot how to do the math 8, rewatch that graphing calculator video that I made. And then this also, so you're going to get this negative 0.164 pounds per day. Now, it asks us to interpret our answers using the correct units right there. So I put at t equals 15 days, the grass clippings were decomposing at a rate of 0.164 pounds per day. So you could use the positive number if you're going to put the word decomposing or decreasing, or if you're just going to put it, the amount is changing so fast. If the amount's changing, then you got to include the negative right there. But if you're indicating it's decomposing, then in tech, you don't really need the negative right there. But you got your answer. You let the calculator do the work. Let the calculator do the work. That's just your average value formula. And remember, on your blue sheet, you have your average value formula. I'm sorry, you have your average rate of change, is what we're using in part A. And then you also have your average value formula, which is what we're going to end up using in part C. So it tells us on part C, I like part C, a little trickier. It's not just having you find one thing. You got to find a thing and you got to do something to it. So it says find the amount of time, find the time for which the amount of grass clipping in the bin is equal to the average amount of grass clippings in the bin. So when you see a problem about cupcakes and it says find the average amount of cupcakes, that's your average value formula. So when I saw average amount of grass clippings, I used my 1 over b minus a times the integral from a to b formula to get the average value, right? Math 9 that sucker, that gives you this 2.753. That's the average amount of grass clippings in the bin in between 0 and 30 minutes there, now, or 30 days. All right, now what they want us to do is figure out where the amount is equal to that. So if you reread that problem, it wants to know when is the amount of grass clippings, that's A. When is that A equal to that average amount? So once you find that average amount, then you got to go over, I went to the side over here, I took my A equation, set it equal to that 2.753. And this whole thing is a nice graph and calculator problem. If you know how to use those features that I showed you in the graph and calculator video, you're going to like this problem there. If you have a difficult equation to solve, don't solve it. Move that stuff, get it on one side, set it equal to 0. Graph this function in your graphing calculator, and then I will like cross the x-axis, let that figure out that 0 for you. And again, if you forgot how to do that, rewatch that graphing calculator video to get you that number right there. The last part, when it says linear approximation or local linearization, something like that with the linear stuff, they're meaning for us to get the equation of the tangent line. Okay, so they're saying that equation is good in between like 0 and 30. This equation here, this down here is going to be taking us beyond 30. So beyond 30, we're going to use the equation for the tangent line to predict some stuff there, okay? So it says that t equals 30. Now, at t equals 30, that's your x value. You figured out your y value. We figured that out on part A is at 0.783. So there's our point. And then the slope is your derivative. You could do the math 8 function again at the 30 to get the slope right there. You don't have to write down math 8. You could just write down 8 prime of 30 is equal to that. So once you have your point and the slope, you guys know how to do the point slope formula. I did the point slope formula, and then once I got the y's and x's in there, I then just realized that the x's was the time, and then the y was the L that they're talking about. So I solved that equation for the L because we're supposed to use it for something. And then you got to be careful because it says predict the time at which there will be 0.5 pounds of grass clippings remaining in the bin. That 0.5 is not a time. That's not the t. The 0.5 is the L. You got to take the 0.5, plug it in for the L right there, and then solve that equation for the t to get the number of days there. So I think we could be pretty successful with that problem, but please study the words, practice the calculator issues right there. We know how to do all the different parts of that problem. So just practice that, study that, and be good with that calculator stuff there. Horse. Am I talking about the animal or the basketball game? I don't know.